Hi, this is Delegate Patrick Hope, and I want to welcome you to my crossover report, which marks the middle point of Virginia's 2020 legislative session. So far, in just over 35 days, the Virginia House of Delegates has passed a total of 828 bills. We focused on legislation that encompasses major Democratic priorities that we all campaigned on in November. Some of our top priorities that have passed the General Assembly include common sense gun safety legislation to address universal background checks, requirements to report lost and stolen firearms, granting localities the authority to determine how firearms may be regulated, preventing child access to loaded firearms, establishing substantial risk protective orders, restoring a limit of the number of gun purchases a person may make per month, ensuring persons under a protective order do not possess a firearm, ending the sale of assault weapons, and banning extended magazines. Next, ratifying the Equal Rights Amendment, making Virginia the 38th and final state needed to complete the ratification process. Increasing women's reproductive health care access in the Commonwealth by removing current requirements such as forcing a woman to undergo medically unnecessary ultrasounds, waiting periods on abortion services, and bias counseling. It also repeals unnecessary restrictions on medical personnel in facilities so that qualified advanced practice clinicians may perform abortions during early pregnancy, provided that it falls within the scope of practice. Abortion care providers may also offer services to patients without the interference of target regulations imposed to limit such services. We've also expanded voting rights in Virginia, allowing Virginia voters to vote absentee by mail or in person for any reason, for eliminating the need to provide an approved excuse. One measure would allow voters to essentially permanently enroll in a vote by mail program without having to fill out an absentee ballot request to vote by mail for each primary or general election. Another bill in this space in the House, we voted to ensure that mail-in ballots postmarked on Election Day can be counted. Democrats advanced bills to allow for no excuse absentee voting and to extend the hours of polling stations. We also passed a bill to eliminate the requirement of photo identification. Next, House Democrats passed sweeping environmental protection legislation to establish a carbon emissions trading program and use the revenues from the sale of emissions allowances to fund flood preparedness and energy efficiencies. This bill would also see Virginia participate in the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, a more extensive carbon trading framework. Further, it would ease restrictions on private citizens and organizations to install renewable energy, making significant gains in the fight against climate change, including House Bill 981, which authorized the Commonwealth to join RGGI, House Bill 1132, the Fair Energy Bills Act, and House Bill 1664 to advance offshore wind development, and House Bill 1526, the Virginia Clean Economy Act. Next, tackling predatory short-term loan practices by capping interest rates and fees that may be charged for short-term loans. These practices disproportionately affect minorities. If enacted, the bill would limit the interest rate lenders can charge on payday or other consumer loans to just 36% plus a capped monthly fee. It also increases the maximum amount of such loans from $500 to $2,500, sets the duration of such loans at a minimum of 4 months, and prohibits the collection of fees and charges that exceed half of the original loan amount. Another bill we passed was establishing access to collective bargaining for public employees by repealing a 2013 law that prevented state and local employees from unionizing. Virginia Democrats also passed sweeping protections for LGBTQ people, barring discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity in credit, employment, housing, and real estate transactions. This makes Virginia the first state in the South to protect these rights. These bills create new safeguards for the LGBTQ community, veterans, pregnant mothers, and women experiencing pregnancy-related medical issues, as well as more strongly enforce current protections on the basis of race, gender, religion, and age, among other groups that have historically experienced such discrimination. Next, House Democrats passed a bill to decriminalize marijuana, which would replace the current penalty for possession from $500 and a maximum of 30-day jail sentence with just a civil penalty. It removes the criminal penalty for simple marijuana possession, establishing a civil fine of just $25. If enacted, Virginia would join 26 other states and the District of Columbia in decriminalizing the simple possession of marijuana, and it would also seal all records for past convictions. This is the first step towards legalization. And last but not least, the House passed a bill to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour by 2025. Virginia's minimum wage sits at a federal baseline of just $7.25, lagging far behind its neighbors of DC, which is at $15 an hour, and Maryland, which is at $11 an hour. All in all, I would say this has been a historic session, and that's one word you can describe to sum it up. Historic for the amount of progressive legislation that's been passed, and historic because we are finally giving the majority of voters what they've been asking for years. A welcoming, inclusive Virginia where all Virginians have a shot to participate in our economy and all are welcome. Well, that's all for this week. Join me back here next week where we continue to discuss major legislation making its way through the General Assembly and an update on where things stand with the budget, which we will see very soon. In the meantime, if you need any assistance, please email me at my office at delphope@house.virginia.gov or call me here in Richmond at area code 804-698-1047. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you back here next week.